Did you know that Julia Child, the famous American chef and author, didn't publish her first cookbook until the age of 49? She spent 9 years testing and perfecting recipes in her Cambridge, Massachusetts kitchen. It wasn't until age 51 that she hard-launched her public TV show, The French Chef. Travel down south to Kentucky, and Colonel Harland Sanders, the founder of the Kentucky Fried Chicken restaurant chain, also found late success for his brand. He held several odd jobs for much of his life before selling his now famous fried chicken out of a roadside restaurant during the Great Depression. He faced many setbacks while trying to franchise the concept and didn't open the first official KFC until he was 62 years old. These are just 2 examples out of many illustrating that age is just a number. Whether you're still searching for your true calling or just want to try something new, it's never too late. For Gerald McBride, a longtime Detroit radio host and producer, the idea behind his passion project first took shape 15 years ago after he went to a collegiate ice hockey game. He was finishing up a work meeting when a client asked if he wanted to join.
Yes. Hey, listen, I have to go to University of Michigan to a hockey game. I'm like, really? He says, yeah, my son is playing for UMass. He's from Connecticut. He says, my son is playing for UMass. Would you mind taking me to University of Michigan and joining me at this hockey game? I said, sure, why not? Let's go. I had never been to a hockey game. We get there. It's sold out, 10,000 seats at University of Michigan as they played UMass. And of course, his son was playing for UMass, and I'm just really enjoying the game. But as I looked around, I was the only African-American in the entire arena. And I was like really just amazed at this sport, but just wondering, where are all the Black people in this game? It just had such a huge impact on me. And I left that game, and I immediately got the idea for this movie. And I really believe it was just a God-given idea.
McBride didn't let his lack of experience in screenwriting and filmmaking hinder his vision. He felt a drive to bring to life this story of a young Black hockey player and the challenges of playing in a predominantly white sport.
I just had this idea in my head about this story, about this Black hockey player, and I just began to write on notepads and, not really having any of the formal training for writing a screenplay or the right software or anything. But I just kept writing and writing, because it's almost like when you get an idea for a story, you just got to get it out. So I just kept writing and writing and writing, and finally graduated from the notepad to investing in the software, a final draft, and started taking some classes on screenwriting, and that's how it all began.
The process of crafting and editing the script took longer than you might expect. For 12 years, he was a radio personality and producer by day and an aspiring screenwriter by night. One person who understands this hustle and persistence is Sheila Nielsen, a longtime career consultant. She's an expert in helping people explore side interests and skills that could turn into something more.
Play to your strengths. And what are those strengths? You sit down and think about, what is it that comes easily to you? And maybe it's harder for other people. There are people who are really good at, for example, math. There are people who are very good at problem solving. What kind of problem solving are you good at? So we're looking for aptitudes. And then we're looking for interests. What are the strong interests? What gets you up in the morning and makes you excited to think about it, to do it, to problem solve in this particular area?
Nielsen is the owner of Nielsen Career Consulting in Chicago. She says every interest starts off as something small and requires time, energy, and commitment to grow. She often uses this analogy.
Most of my clients have climbed up, I would say, they climbed up like Mount Everest, and they've gotten to a certain point. And then they look over at K2, this other mountain, they go, oh, I'd really like to be over there on that mountain. Well, very often you have to go down to come up again. It's not like there's necessarily a direct link across. You can cross over, or you can't take an airplane from one mountain to the other.
Nielsen says that in some cases, the skills you've already cultivated can help you in your next endeavor. For McBride, working in media meant that he had a leg up in certain aspects of the writing, communication, and creative direction of the film. However, he says that making the movie was far from easy, and he found himself back at square one several times.
After I got the script to a place where I thought it was presentable, I do have some friends in Hollywood who do movies, and I would send it to them and they would critique it and they would mark it up like a bad report card. Hey, we think you got a good idea, but you got a lot of work to do here. And I would get their critiques back and kind of just a lot of times I was just really discouraged, like, okay, maybe this isn't for me. You know how you just ball up the idea, just throw it in the trash, but then I'd get it back out and I'd just continue to write and write and write and take the constructive criticism and take the ideas that they were giving me and add them to the script. And this process just went on for years and years. Finally, I got it to a point where they thought that I had something worth pitching. And there were some production companies who were interested in it and talking about putting the money up for the movie. And I was like, okay, wow, this is great. We're getting close. And then COVID hits.
The initial deal fell through, and for years the pandemic led to a standstill in film production. But McBride held out hope. In 2022, he took a risk and decided to finance the movie himself. He also secured a small business loan and got to work on production.
Not only was I the director, the executive producer, the writer, I also had to do transportation. I had to do wardrobe. I had to wear all these different hats. I mean, a lot of times it was just me on the set with my crew. I did everything but run the camera. I didn't do any audio or anything like that, but I had to learn all of these different positions. And it was great stretching this out over a year period of time so that I could really take my time and understand these positions well. I'm in my 60s, and most of my peers are like, okay, let's start talking about retirement and how we can relax and how we can do less. And this happened to be just a pivotal turning point in my career to a whole nother career. So this will be the first of more movies that I'll be doing.
In a world that often celebrates youth and speed, McBride's story is a reminder that some journeys, the most meaningful ones, are built over decades, setbacks, and second acts.
A 17-year adventure of making this movie and a work of faith. And like I said, in the movie, the theme is don't be afraid, just believe. And I'm walking that out as I continue to just kind of stand on faith and not be afraid and make this movie.
McBride's new film, Black Ice, The Rhythm, is now streaming on Amazon, Prime Video, Apple TV, and Google Play. To find out more about Gerald McBride, Sheila Nielsen, and all of our guests, visit viewpointsradio.org. This segment was written by our executive producer, Amira Zaveri. Our studio manager is Jason Dickey. I'm Marty Peterson.